All right, good morning. Welcome in. Out of bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys hosting the San Francisco 49ers. When I was growing up, I'll date myself. Yeah, it was a big deal. And that Dwight Clark catch in the back of the end zone, you know, that was kind of the beginning of the end, right, for Dallas and Landry. Fast forward several years, Jerry Jones buys the franchise, boots the legendary Landry out, but Dallas had lost their mojo, okay? Jimmy Johnson comes in, and then we get the rekindled Cowboys 49ers when I was in college, high school college, coming out of 91, 92. And you had Aikman and Jimmy Johnson and Seifert and Steve Young, right? And Jerry Rice, who's from here, just right up the road. And I love Jerry Rice, thought he walked on water. So now we get the Cowboys hosting the 49ers this Sunday afternoon. We welcome in senior NFL analyst, Pro Football Focus, PFF.com. He is Steve Palazzolo on the Bucked Up Energy Drinks guest line. Steve, good morning. You remember, I know you remember that growing up, Cowboys 49ers getting after it in the 90s, right?
Yeah, not the Montana play, but certainly the nostalgia of the 90s and Madden and Summerall on the call, Cowboys 49ers trying to get back over the hump against the Cowboys. They finally did in 1994. I mean, yeah, there was some incredible matchups between both teams. Yeah, I love it.
With this matchup this weekend, Dan Quinn going against Shanahan and Kellen Moore against that San Francisco defense, like which piece of the puzzle as far as the matchup jumps out at you, Steve?
I mean, it's definitely that Niners offense against the Dallas defense, because the Niners offense has just been so efficient, so good. Not only the entire time Kyle Shanahan's been there, but essentially when Kyle Shanahan's had Jimmy Garoppolo as his starter, they've won a ton of games and they've moved the ball. And now they just flood the field with difficult to cover playmakers or difficult to tackle playmakers. Guys like Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, Juwan Jennings is playing great ball as well. Kyle Juszczyk playing fullback, best fullback in the league. And then they find ways to break defenses, right? So when you throw a wide receiver in the backfield like a Deebo Samuel and you treat him like a running back, it's very difficult for defenses to account for that, because when you see Deebo on the field, you match up with a corner. And it's really tough to just even set your defensive front when you have a receiver playing running back. So I think that whole matchup, and then what Dallas has done defensively, adding Micah Parsons with the great pass rushers that they have there, Trevon Diggs, even though he's been boom or bust, always has the ability to pick one off and, turn the game around. So I just love that Shanahan versus Quinn matchup because of the playmakers, the coaching history, and there's a lot there.
Okay. So do you like the 49ers because of that?
I would never say that. I would never say that in front of you guys. But I think
I was about to say, man. I mean,
if the Niners win, they would probably go to Lambeau unless the Bucs got upset. But they'd probably go to Lambeau. I mean, the Niners are the one low seed I think could make a run. But I do think Dallas is a better all-around team. I trust Dallas's defense much more than I trust the Niners' defense. So, of course, I'm taking the Cowboys for you guys.
All right, so close game, but do you feel like Dak and the Cowboys can move the ball against the 49ers? What is the number you're landing on here? I mean, are you thinking a 24-21? Where are you going with this type game in Dallas Sunday afternoon?
I think it's more like the 30-27. I think you could see a lot of points here because the Niners are tough to stop. Garoppolo might put the ball in harm's way once or twice, but even in those situations, he's found ways to come back, much like the Rams game last week. I think Dallas will move the ball fine. I know Dak's been really inconsistent down the stretch. He just beautiful game torching the Eagles' backups, though. That was really impressive. But, Dak is still capable, right? They've got all those receivers that are tough to cover. They can run it if they need to. I think Dallas will move the ball just fine. It'll come down to, can Dak avoid some of those mistakes he was making down the stretch outside of, say, the Eagles game, right? Down the stretch, he was like, man, he's slumping a little bit. He's not seeing the field, a couple bad decisions per game. If Jimmy G's going to make a few of those, Dak's going to have to avoid those, for the Cowboys to win.
Okay, who's the X factor outside of Dak on offense? Or Is it what's the X factor? And that is the offensive line not throwing up 5 holding calls, Steve.
I mean, Tyron Smith, if he's out there and healthy, going up against Nick Bosa, when they're matched up, it's great. But to me, it's always about the playmakers. It's the CeeDee Lambs and Amari Coopers of the world, right? I mean, the thing that makes Dallas difficult to stop is it's tough to cover all those guys the same way it's tough to cover all the guys that the Niners are throwing out there. So Dalton Schultz work in the middle of the field, Cedric Wilson. So all of those playmakers, Dallas having options to what the Niners give them or take away from them, I think is always the X factor, having places to go with football.
And we would like to see more Tony Pollard and less Zeke Elliott. Do you agree or disagree?
Yeah, I think overall, I mean, Zeke's run hard. I think the balance between those two isn't terrible. But, yeah, I mean, if you're looking for a big play, if you're trying to spark things, getting the ball in Pollard's hands, either through the run or in the short passing game is never a bad idea.
And then on the defensive side, you mentioned all the playmakers that the 49ers have. Micah Parsons is back, and he could kind of be Dan Quinn's X factor as far as, lining him up in different places, right, throughout the afternoon?
Yeah, he absolutely is. Again, it's incredible what Parsons is doing because linebacker and pass rusher or edge defender are two completely different positions. It's two completely different skill sets, and Parsons has been able to do both. Now, if he plays traditional linebacker, it could be tough on him because the Niners do a really good job of just making life difficult for linebackers, whether, in the run game or in the pass game. But third downs, I think, is where Dallas can really create some issues with Lawrence, with Randy Gregory, with Parsons creating those mismatches. They had Parsons rushing over guards at times. So I think they'll be able to find those mismatches and create some havoc on third down for sure.
You like him, I don't. Kellen Moore, offensive coordinator for the Cowboys. Do you think that the moment could be – I just think that in big moments he reverts back to Linehan and Jason Garrett and goes too conservative. And I know talking to you the last several years, you're more of a let-it-rip guy. You got to go get it in the NFL, and I agree with that. Do you think that the moment could be too big for Kellen Moore Sunday?
No, I think he'll be all right. And, yeah, I'm definitely a let-it-rip, pass-first type of guy. I think you run the ball when the defense gives it to you, when you have the numbers advantage, or you have the offensive line advantage, and the Cowboys do have a great offensive line overall. So I think Kellen Moore will be okay. I think we'll see just enough. I don't want to say trickeration, but you'll have, a couple plays where, they'll try to create explosive play, using play action, using misdirection. I think the Cowboys, Dak, Kellen, I think they'll be okay offensively.
Okay. Real quick, we'll get off this game. One more. Shanahan, McCarthy. I'm not talking about what McCarthy was in 2010 with maybe the most talented quarterback ever, but who's the better head coach, Steve Palazzolo? Is it Kyle Shanahan or Mike McCarthy?
It's a tough one because I always give Shanahan credit for his offenses because he's the architect more than say McCarthy is for his offense. I think in-game decision making is probably actually going to be in McCarthy's favor. I think he'll be a little bit more aggressive than in the right spots than Kyle will. But it's close, man. I think I'd give Kyle maybe the slight edge because I always give him credit for the offense, and I think he's done a good job with the Niners when he's had Jimmy Garoppolo. His record's not as good overall because he's had backups playing a ton, but when he has his starter, he just wins. So I'll give Kyle the slight edge right now overall, and Mike McCarthy the edge as far as the in-game stuff goes.
Okay. Let's go to Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and the town that you're in. Cincinnati doesn't host a lot of playoff games, and they're hosting the Las Vegas Raiders. And there's a lot of SEC flavor that I just referenced. First of all, what's it like in the city right now? And has it's kind of a baseball city because of what happened in the 70s, but has the city fallen in love with Burrow and Chase in this group, Steve?
Yeah, I'm driving through the city right now. It is buzzing. It's buzzing, because when the last few times the Bengals made the playoffs, it was with Andy Dalton at quarterback, and Andy Dalton's a fine, good, solid NFL starter, but I don't think anybody truly believed Marvin Lewis and Andy Dalton was going to lead them to the promised land, and the promised land being even just one playoff win, and they were unable to do it. With Burrow, and especially with Chase added to the mix, there's a lot of hope now in the city because Burrow you just look at him and it's like, man, that dude is going to win. He looks confident he's going to win, and he shows it on the field. He backs it up on the field. And even just on the field in these last two games, they put the ball in his hands. They said, hey, go throw the ball around 45, 50 times. Win the game for us, Joe Burrow. It's your team. And he did it. It must-win games against the Ravens and against the Chiefs. So, yeah, people are excited up here in Cincinnati because they're hosting a playoff game, but I think they're expected to host a lot more with Burrow, with Chase, and the way this offense is cooking right now.
Bengals hosting the Raiders, and that is Saturday's game, 3:30 here. Steve Palazzolo, PFF.com, Pro Football Focus, great site. He joins us on the Bucked Up Energy Drinks guest line. Best QB matchup this weekend, Palazzolo?
It's got to be Stafford versus Kyler, I think. Two guys who have put up top 10 type of production. It's the first Monday Night Football playoff game. It's the third time they've played each other. A lot of storylines here with the Rams completely, like investing, obviously. They're investing in Stafford. They invested multiple first-round picks for this game, for this type of game, for the huge games in the season, the playoff games. So Stafford, the pressure that's on him and the Rams versus Kyler, year 3, the breakout that he had this year, the improvements that Kyler made to his game, seeing if him and Cliff Kingsbury can take it to the next level here in the playoffs. So, yeah, I think that's the best matchup. I think it's going to be an awesome finish to playoff weekend here.
Are you giving the Steelers any shot going to Arrowhead this weekend?
No, I mean I do Pittsburgh radio on Thursday afternoon, so I'll make up some stuff for them. Like the what if scenarios. What if TJ Watt has like 3 strip sacks, and what if Patrick Mahomes keeps throwing the ball to the defense and the defense finally catches it, that's what they need. The Steelers offense has just been putrid in recent weeks. I mean, the whole season really. Their only chance is something crazy like that. The turnovers, Big Ben turning back the clock somehow because it's his last little run here. But overall, unless Kansas City beats themselves, I don't think the Steelers have much of a shot.
Okay. Could the Eagles pull the upset in Tampa?
So I think that was a little bit more likely. You're looking at a rain game, supposedly, in Tampa. That could affect the passing game a little bit. The Eagles run the ball really well. The Bucs, on paper, have a really good run defense, but they haven't really been effective in recent weeks. So the Eagles, like the Niners, it's just they're both unique in how they attack defenses, which I think, means in any given week that they could pull the upset. So I think the Eagles have some shot. I wouldn't pick them, but I think they have a better shot than, say, the Steelers in Kansas City.
Okay. Do you like this? Do you like the Monday Night Football playoff game that you just referenced between Cardinals and Rams?
I kind of like having my Monday nights back, but it's fine. It'll be exciting. I like football. It's good to have football stretch throughout the entire weekend.
Do you watch that game? I know y'all hunker down in the Pro Football Focus headquarters, like on this weekend. I'm sure Saturday and Sunday for hours. Do you go back there on Monday, or do you watch it from your house?
I actually watch most of the games from my house. I like to be not influenced by my coworkers or anything like that. I like to watch in peace. And then my 6-year-old likes to watch with me now, so that's cool. He likes to, watch the games. But, yeah, I'll be at my house, and I try to take it all in and, focus a little bit.
Now, a game that could go all the way down to the wire this weekend is our Saturday night, steak and bourbon game, steak and whiskey game. And that's Belichick and the Bills, AFC East matchup. They go back to Buffalo. How do you see this one?
Yeah, another great game. I mean, this is, the game in Buffalo the first time had the 50-mile-an-hour winds. Mac Jones only threw it 3 times. It won't be a windy game. It'll be just cold. I don't know if there'll be snow, but you're talking single digits. So it's still going to be tough to pass the ball. Josh Allen was just an absolute star a couple weeks ago in the must-win game in New England to win the AFC East. So it's going to be an incredible matchup. I think the Patriots' ground game against the Bills' run defense is another one of those things, right? In a January game in Buffalo, the run game matters probably a little bit more as long as you're not getting gassed. I mean, the Bills just can't get gassed, right? So they're going to have to commit resources to the run. Mac Jones is going to have to make some throws. And then it's just going to be the full Josh Allen experience. Is he going to make special throws? Is he going to throw the ball to the defense? Is he going to fumble? He had a He had a lateral in the playoff game a couple years ago that was ill-advised. He did that again a couple weeks ago. Like, Josh Allen's just itching to make plays. And if those go the Bills' way, I think they win. If they don't go the Bills' way, I think they lose. So I think the full Josh Allen experience will determine this game, just where some of those high-end volatile plays land on Saturday night.
Can you imagine what New England and Belichick and the defense have been and are working on this week? Steve, going in this game?
I mean, I think, again, they got helped a little bit in Buffalo by the win because Allen couldn't throw the ball as well. And then in New England, he made 4 or 5 big-time throws, and he runs the ball a ton, not just in the design running game, but as a scrambler. So, there's, Belichick's putting all his resources into figuring out how do we stop Stephon Diggs, how do we take away Josh Allen's special plays, just make those windows a little bit tighter, and then keeping an eye on him as a runner as well.
I think here it says it will feel like negative -14. Good grief.
You ever felt that?
No, buddy, I'm in the Sun Belt. I'm never going to Buffalo.
Yeah, I don't blame you. It is cold up there in the Northeast. It's tough to catch the ball, so it does affect the pass game. That's why Josh Allen as a runner and the Patriots running game both going to be keys to that game.
Have you ever been to Buffalo?
I drive through there. When I drive back to Boston, I drive through. I try not to stop too much, though. Bills Mafia, they don't love me because I wasn't all in on Josh Allen a few years ago, so I try not to stop there for too long.
Ah, okay. Interesting. It is kind of cool, that they've come back. When I was growing up, it was Jim Kelly, Kent Hull, Bruce Smith, and Thurman, and that whole group. And now to kind of find the stuff again is kind of cool. All right, let's talk about all the firings and so on. We got all these job openings, and if I'm Steve Palazzolo and you're a super agent, and you've got all these guys that you're trying to drop into jobs, what is the number one job that super agent Steve Palazzolo would push for right now? Open.
Oh, man. So it depends on how you're viewing this, right? Because the ownership and the situation matters. Like, on paper, I think the Dolphins situation looks decent, but I don't know if you have the same ownership situation as, say, I think the Bears really want to win, but I don't think – so I think that'd be a good place to go. You got Justin Fields there to build around, but I don't know if you've got the roster there just yet. So I think from, like, an ownership, want to win, you've got a quarterback, Bears are intriguing because of Fields. And then I'd say on the field, the Dolphins are intriguing, as are the Broncos. But the Broncos being in the same division as the Chiefs and the Chargers, if you're afraid of competition, maybe it's not as attractive. But I think on the field, the Broncos and the Dolphins look like, hey, here's the best situation to step in. You got to find a quarterback, but I think there's a lot of other really good pieces there that you can turn it around pretty quickly.
All right, Pro Football Focus, PFF.com. Steve Palazzolo joins us on the Bucked Up Energy Drinks guest line. I have to be very careful when I'm saying that, Steve, just FYI. So the Seattle Seahawks, who've had a ton of success under Carroll and Russell and Snyder. Paul Allen passed away, and it looked like evidently Pete may have gone for a power move on Snyder, and this thing hadn't worked out the last couple of years. They're having an organizational meeting today. What do you make of what's going on with the Seattle Seahawks?
Yeah, it may just feel like it's run its course, and sometimes you come out of this meeting and it's like, we'll give it one more shot. And look, anytime you have Russell Wilson, like you're a competitor, right? You're going to be right in the mix. Seattle won the division last year. They're not a far cry from being, one of the better teams in the NFC, but they have gotten worse. Their roster has slowly deteriorated over the last couple of years, and I think Pete can do it. Pete's a really good motivator. He's good at getting guys to play. He can do a better job with his in-game decision making. I think he's got to get up at times there. So I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I don't know which way it's going to go. If they blew it up and said, okay, let's start new, I wouldn't be that surprised if they said, all right, we're going to do it one last time. For old time's sake, we're going to stretch it out one more year. Russ and Pete and Schneider, let's give it a run. But it may have run its course in Seattle. It might be time because they just don't have the draft capital to get the roster to where it needs to go. So they would have to have a pristine offseason, I think, just to get back to where they were probably 2 years ago. And I just don't know if they've got the pieces to do that right now. So it might be time to just blow it up, start fresh.
Yeah. And who's going to call that shot? I mean, if Paul Allen's sister doesn't even care at the end of the day, you know, who's going to clean house, I guess, would also be a question. I think she's more into giving hundreds of millions of dollars to super cool museums in the Seattle area than what in the hell they're doing on the field. All right, if you had to keep one, I know what you're going to say, but if you had to keep one, Carroll or Russell Wilson, which one are you keeping?
Yeah, I mean, I would take Russ. I'd be interested in what that new coach would look like, you know, what that situation would look like. You know, do you keep John Schneider's got a pretty good track record overall, despite, you know, not being as good recently. But yeah, I'd be intrigued by what a new coach would look like with Russ and what they could do with him.
All right, we'll leave it there. Steve Palazzolo, Pro Football Focus. He's got the podcast, pff.com, throwing up great content on an hourly basis. And we've got a heck of a weekend. We know we're going to get some good games at some point throughout the weekend. So excited about that. And Steve said he will be wearing his Dak Prescott jersey on Sunday afternoon. So we're excited about that, too. All right, Palazzolo, be good, buddy. Thanks, man.
Thanks, guys. I wear my Mark Brunell throwback jersey. That was my guy.
Oh, my goodness gracious. That is awesome.
To get ready for this. Anyway, good luck, guys.
All right, see you, dude. Steve Palazzolo, NFL senior analyst, Pro Football Focus. He will have his Mark Brunell throwback jersey from the late 90s with Jimmy Smith from Jackson State and Keenan McCardle.
Yeah, baby.
And Fred, who was the Gator running back that was so great?
Why can I not say his last name?
Fred.
I know who you're talking about.
321 on the text line, 601-885-3776. He was a hell of a football player.
Taylor.
Yes.
God, I don't know why
I want to say Fred McCrary because he was a fullback under Sherrill and actually made it in the league and played like 7 or 8 years. I know, fullback.
I know.
I just said fullback, but that was the 90s.
Remember, Steve Palazzolo just referenced fullback when he was talking about Cowboys-Niners.
Yeah.
Last great fullback in the league, Kyle Juszczyk for the 49ers.
Wow.
Juice.
Do you think he was?
Oh, no, he's still playing. You'll see him Sunday. That's what Steve said. Kyle Juszczyk in the 49ers.
There you have it. The Out of Bounds Show, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN, driven by the pre-owned and new SUVs and trucks at Mack Hike in Flowood. Right down from Rick's Pro Truck, Mack Hike in Flowood. If you're in the market for an SUV or truck, pre-owned or new, Mack Hike in Flowood. MackHikeFlowood.com, Ram trucks, Jeep Wranglers, Jeep Grand Cherokees, but other makes and models. Now, their dealership is loaded up with inventory. If you're in the market for car, truck, SUV, MackHikeFlowood.com. That's Mack Hike in Flowood, MackHikeFlowood.com. Bar 2 at 9:30.